Hello, everyone. I'm Patrick Fisher, the founder and president of Next Level Character, where we develop athletes into leaders. We invite you to join us on our mission to raise the character of every person to the highest level. Another phrase you'll grow accustomed to hearing and seeing is this: improve your character, improve your life, and impact the world. Because we firmly believe that those with great character can and will impact the world in a positive manner. I know I will, because this business is what I was put on this earth to do. For 20 years, I journeyed to figure out what made me tick. And when I started in May of 1999, I had no idea where it would take me or how long it would take. So thank you so very much for all the comments and replies to our first video. I really enjoy reading your feedback and responses, and we really cherish hearing from you. We really do. In the first video, I shared with you how Next Level Character will improve the probability of your star athlete earning that athletic scholarship they deserve, and how college coaches are always seeking student athlete leaders for their teams, as well as other benefits of having a Next Level Character assessment report in the hands of your star athlete. In this video, I'm going to share with you the story about my dramatic character transformation and how you or your star athlete can possibly do the same, or at the very least, learn more about improving your character. Before I start that, this is the perfect moment to issue a disclaimer. Next Level Character cannot and will not offer or promise a scholarship. I want to be very clear about this. Me nor my company, Next Level Character, can offer nor promise a scholarship, and we never will. Never. Only college coaches can do that and no one else. Okay? Glad we're clear on that. Okay, back to my story. At the time my story begins, my life was very typical of any 5-year-old boy. I loved playing outside. I grew up right across the street from a large park complete with baseball fields, a basketball court, tennis courts, a snow sledding hill, and a great playground, and lots of woods and ravines. I came home very muddy a lot. It was the quintessential backyard. I loved it. My mom always knew she could find me over there somewhere. In the summer of 1968, my dad, a police officer in my hometown, would take me for bike rides where I would sit on the crossbar between his arms and knees. I would hold the handlebars close to the gooseneck, and he would do the rest. I trusted him. I had no fear. However, there was one of those bike rides when he took me somewhere he should not have taken me, which was for him to see someone he shouldn't have been seen. That memory is the most vivid, powerful, and long-lasting memory that I have, at least of the kind that would prove to be the source of 50 years of unexplained pain and suffering. Unexplained, that is, until mid-January of 2019, and I'll come back to that later. That bike ride on that warm summer evening of 1968 was the source of my broken trust and was the thing that crushed my self-esteem and self-confidence. However, I didn't know that at the time, but I did know that something wasn't right. But as a 5-year-old, I didn't know what to do with it. After that evening, I can't say I remember anything going wrong in my life until second semester of 3rd grade. I recall having those SRA modules that were completed in a self-paced manner at my school. To track students' progress on those modules, the teacher had a chart on the wall showing where we all were. I was way out ahead of everyone. I share that to demonstrate that I was excelling in the classroom, not as a brag. So now comes the second semester, and for no reason I know, I started to slow down dramatically. A few other kids started to catch me. I recall this vividly, nearly as vividly as the original memory. This is the first thing I remember where I started to regress or underachieve. When I got into junior high school, 7th, 8th, and 9th grades, I was in accelerated math, but underperformed and struggled quite a bit in that class. I remained on that track in 8th grade and continued to struggle. I recall being taken out of this class for counseling sessions. To this day, I don't know the purpose of those sessions. Nothing stuck out to me then or now. I do remember thinking it felt experimental because my counselor was also a teacher. Also, as I began to notice girls, I started to see a pattern of behavior and emotions that didn't seem normal. In fact, I knew none of it was normal, but I didn't know what to do about it or how to change it. On the outside, I was just a normal hormonal teenage boy. On the inside, it was a whole different story. I was an emotional train wreck, and I was only getting started. I want to pause here for a minute to say this. I'm sharing the details of my story to help others. You, your spouse, your son or daughter, someone, anyone else. The whole of who I am and what I am is here to help someone, no matter who it is. I know that while my specific story is unique to me, I also know that the stories of others may have some similarities to mine, and that by my sharing my details, someone, or a lot of someones, will be able to identify with parts of my story, and I'll be able to help in some small or even a big way. But I do want to help. So from junior high through college, I would bounce from relationship to relationship, and because of insecurities and neediness, my emotional connection would transfer from girl to girl. I'm even unsure if I ever truly loved any of those young ladies because I didn't know how to love anyone except myself. I was so selfish. I wanted my needs met, and that's all that mattered to me. Having a girl or young lady love me validated me. I can see that in retrospect, but had no idea what was driving me at the time. Do you see patterns like this in your sons? I have no idea if that is how insecure young ladies behave. Do you see anything similar in your daughters? Some other behaviors which started coming out as I got into my 20s were jealousy, anger, hypersensitivity, insecurity, and neediness were all front and center, especially in relationships with the ladies. Are you seeing tendencies like any of these or other things that otherwise seem out of character in your children? If so, perhaps we can help. Here's another very distinctive characteristic I experienced. I always related better with the girls or ladies throughout my life. Only now, at 57, do I realize the value and benefit of relating well with other men. This is crucial for the health and well-being of every man and for the healthy, well-adjusted development of every young man. So fast forward a few years, and I was married at 27, and I should not have been. I had no idea what I was doing, not a clue. It was more its time than I'm completely bonkers about this lady and cannot imagine my life without her. I had very poor examples for what marriage should look like, as did my ex-wife. There's no question we were doomed from the beginning. We had no business getting married. I broke up with her in September of 1989 for 1 week and went back to her a week later out of insecurity. True story. I didn't miss her. I missed the companionship. Not her sweet smile or her companionship. I hated being alone. What a miserable existence it was. Did I touch a nerve for anyone here? Here's another hallmark of my existence. When alone, it was never quiet. The TV or music was on constantly. Not usually, not most of the time, always. Well, why was that, you ask? Well, because I hated being alone with my own thoughts. It didn't matter what I was doing, driving, showering, cooking, cleaning, something was on constantly. Does this sound familiar? Today, I drive in silence a lot. I take walks in the woods and listen to nature. I have found peace, comfort, and contentment in my own skin. That wasn't true for the longest time. So in May of 1999, I made a life-changing decision. I had been told at least a few times that I had a lot of potential. The crazy thing is, I knew I did, but I had no idea how to tap into it. So one day I said to myself, let's see what makes Patrick tick. I had no idea what it would take me or how long it would take. Just before that decision was made, I had been introduced to a multi-level marketing company And they understood for the company to be successful, they had to have reps who were also the best version of themselves that they could possibly be. They hosted a 2-day workshop called Humans Being More. At this workshop, I heard something that I had either missed or never heard before. Either way, this workshop set me on a path from which I have not deviated. I'm still seeking everything I was made to be. It was this workshop that led to the decision that I mentioned previously. What I heard that weekend was that I could change my character. I had never known that before. I had always believed that I was stuck with what I had and had to learn how to deal with it, or deal with that hand of cards. I've always likened it to a couple of versions of poker. I had always thought that life was like a hand of poker where you can't trade in your bad cards. I had just learned that I could trade in those bad cards to get better ones. My paradigm on life had just shifted dramatically. As I said, I had no idea where it would take me. Unfortunately, I followed in my dad's footsteps in some very unsavory ways, which led to my divorce in 2002. And while in a deep depression in April of 2003, I went to church of my own volition for the first time in 20 years. I went into this church very broken and in great need of help. I walked out of those doors that day with a new skip in my step, as I had been saved by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He rescued me from myself. This decision was the most important decision I could ever make. This turned me in a new direction which would begin to alter my character immediately and continues to do so to this day. About 1 month after that wonderful day in April 2003, I awoken one day and it hit me. After having tried 3 or 4 times on my own and failing, I realized that day that I no longer had the desire to swear. I used to use every word in the book and could make sentences out of swears. My language was frequently horrible and repulsive. Not anymore. Not after that day in May of '03. It was a refreshing feeling to be free of such disgusting language that serves no good purpose, none whatsoever. That was the first outwardly visible or audible sign of what would eventually become a miraculous transformation of my character. While this was the first sign, there was also a first discovery. That first discovery is the cornerstone of personal growth or character transformation, and that's that you must be emotionally invested in this desire to change. I discovered this as a result of prior attempts of wanting to change without any kind of investment other than the simple desire. When I decided to see what made Patrick tick in 1999, I was on a mission, and I was bound and determined to figure it out one way or another. After being blessed with the gift of stopping swearing, my growth came in fits and starts as I didn't know how to do this. I definitely knew I was broken, but didn't know how to fix those breaks in my character. It was definitely an iterative process for me. One of the frustrating things about my character growth is that it takes time for changes to actually manifest in your life. What you've learned takes time to become part of your new normal. I believe my journey took exceptionally longer than it will take you. You will be able to learn from me, and I'll be able to cut a significant amount of time from your transformation and education, because you'll be learning from someone who has already summited the mountain and has come back down and now can share with you how it's done. Perhaps you don't need a transformation like I did. Maybe you just need some education about some specific character traits. We can help you improve your character too, as it is our mission to raise the character of every person to the highest level. So from 2003 through January of 2019, I went through all sorts of different processes, issues, trials, celebrations, but most of all, a lot of growth and positive change, which all culminated in January of 2019. In August of 2018, I went through a dramatic relationship issue which catapulted me into this final phase of this transformation. God put me through a period where he was able to acquire my complete attention. I'm not kidding. Over the course of the previous 3 to 4 years, Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, came across my life at least 3 times. The summer of 2018 was the 4th time, and I had ignored it previously because the book was not authored by a Christian or wasn't based on godly principles. Or so I thought. In January of 2018, I threw my hands up and said, "Okay, I'll read the book." As it would be, I wish I had acquired this book back in 2014 or 15 when it first crossed my life. It would have saved a lot of grief for me and at least one other person. Because of my lack of character, confidence, self-esteem, and trust, I lived my life by the seat of my pants and had no real foundation on which my life was built, despite being a Christian. I must confess that I hadn't been building my life on the foundation of the rock, who is Jesus. It turns out that being a person of principle was discussed in chapter 1 of Covey's book. This revelation stopped me in my tracks and proved to be the message I needed to hear and was the decision I needed to make. I needed to be building my life on a foundation of Jesus Christ. So I did. From August 2018 to January 2019, God took me on an amazing ride, teaching me to trust him and only him, teaching me that he can overcome anything that my dad did to me or did not teach me. He now has and will always have my undivided attention. I do wish I could recall all of the specific details leading up to the moment when I connected the final dots. What I do remember is this. I was going back and forth between the memory from when I was 5 and all the issues with which I've been dealing for 50 years. Back and forth and back. Until I realized that the event from when I was 5 was the catalyst for everything in my life. And I do mean everything. There were myriad events in my life that until that moment had seemed completely separate, unrelated events. None of them made any sense in and of themselves. There was no connection to any other thing. It all seemed so weird. In this moment, all of a sudden, I had complete clarity, not like any other time in my life. All of a sudden, every one of those events were connected. It all made sense because it was that event when I was 5 that shattered my ability to trust, and my self-esteem and self-confidence were crushed. Here's a good analogy of how I felt. Have you seen the original Aladdin, the animated version with Robin Williams as the voice of the genie? Do you recall the scene very near the end of the movie where Aladdin sets him free and the shackles come off his wrists and he begins to celebrate that he's free by flying all over the place as he wants to go to Vegas or wherever? That was me in mid-January of 2019. It is still me today because I was shackled, imprisoned, and held captive for over 50 years by my poor character. And boy, do I love being free. I see almost everything differently, with new eyes. I see people differently. Even some people I've known and knew well, but now have a refreshed and improved opinion of them because I have a new perspective on myself and I look on them with grace and mercy that I was unable to do before. It feels really, really good. For the first time in my life, I'm able to pour into the lives of others. I've always wanted to do that, but wanting and being able are two very different things. Now I am willing and able. This is an excellent place to be. So that's my story. There were a lot of details I left out, but you definitely get the overall feel for what I dealt with for 50 years. What's your story? Is it as dramatic or more so than mine? Is it substantially less? Perhaps at least substantially more even. I think mine, while somewhat dramatic, is right in the middle. There was no criminal activity, but there was definitely some marital injustice and some familial violations. In the next video, we will dig into you and your story and how joining us on our mission will impact you and your life in the most positive way. Before I go, I want to share one more thing. My experience shattered a lot of limiting beliefs I'd held in my life, like lack of confidence and being unable to trust myself or others. What limiting beliefs do you or your children hold about themselves? Wouldn't you or they love to explode those out of their life? I know that I'm thrilled that I did, and you will be too. In the comments below, please share a piece of your character story. Do you have a father or a mother wound? Which character traits are your weakest and strongest? I'm really eager to read your answers. And always remember, improve your character, improve your life, and impact the world. I know you will. And we'll see you in the next video.